Easy E. How are we?
Shawnee, I have a question for you.
Oh, I'm actually on this. I feel like I'm a spot 'cause I thought we were talking about you for the first 10 minutes. But yeah, okay. Well, I'm on the spot. You have a question for me? Shoot.
Have you ever had your belly rubbed?
I'm not Elmo. No, no, I haven't had me. No,
Well,
I
I
haven't.
tell you what,
No.
we got a lot of people asking about the NCT. So my NCT is still ongoing. It's a 6 week go back every week time it resets. But
We
the
also got
last
asked on before you go any further on that. We got asked. I don't know how it works. The Spotify questions and answers. So I can see it pop up on one of the page things we have whatever on the phone, and you accept it, but you can't answer it back. So someone was asking, where did you get your NCT done? And they meant your body, obviously, apart from the car you got. But so where did you get your NCT done, and why is there probably not much good information to the person that asking?
Unfortunately, you're gonna have to fly out to me here in Dubai to get this NCT.
We can't
Um,
respond to that, by the way. So that's why I
can't
wasn't being
respond.
ignorant. There's no way of
Yeah.
responding.
Well, I suppose we can solve problems with more problems. If there's physiotherapists, physical therapists, or anyone who's offering any NCTs and wants to give loads of discounts to our listeners and want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome to get in touch. Give us $1 million or come on to the podcast. But yeah, so we'll try and find people offering human NCTs for athletes. So we can answer them questions. But so there's a lot wrong with me as we discussed. But a lot of it is down to posture is one. Probably work related, wearing the helmet, looking certain directions, sitting in certain directions when we're flying. And all of it has led to part of it is in the stomach and the abdomen, which is tilting everything, my pelvis, my this, my that, which is causing knee pain. So anyway, there's this whole myriad of problems that I have apart from my head. And I got a belly rub. And
Hmm.
it sounds exciting. When you see your Labrador rolling over, you're like, oh, that dog's in heaven. This was the most excruciating thing I have ever had done, physical, in terms of my fascia release, needles, all of that. It was the most painful thing. And it was absolutely bizarre. So I don't know the technical terms for this, but basically, there's a six pack somewhere underneath all that warmth that I keep. And
Installation.
yeah, but you should even be able to feel it when you dive in there. And with mine, he was trying to show me, it was like, I can't grab it. And I was like, what? And he was like, everything up here is, I know it's his English is great, but it's not as fluid as we would speak in English. But basically he was saying because it was so tense, whatever at the top, the muscle needed to be released in order for him to work on the rest of it. So he went in under my diaphragm, and I swear to God, he barely touched it, and it was excruciating. So, like anything, it's sore, and then it's less sore, and then all of a sudden, it was just like it lifted, and he was like, it was released, and I was like, oh my God, thank God that's over. But I could actually feel it was like no more pain. And then he was able to grab and show me the rest of the abs. And I was like, oh my God, if I wasn't fat, I'd have a six pack right now. So it was absolutely bizarre. And I knew my stomach was a lot of my problems. I didn't think it was causing me other physical problems as well. So it's amazing how it's all been interconnected. So there's still another couple of weeks to go, but the best part is we're back into the heavier end of the training. The strength and conditioning has really been working. The posture's been changing. So
No,
these kind of
go
happening.
back, go back, go back. Hang on. And I never thought I'd ask this, but paint a picture. You are on your back,
Yeah,
lying there, top off, whatever, and he is going through your stomach like a baker needling his way through bread or something,
pretty
and
much. Yeah,
just grabbing stomach and trying to grab under your ribs, and because that's
pretty much. Yeah,
like
yeah,
fingers under the
yeah. Just
ribs.
just everywhere, and it's just he eventually it's just a massage in the belly. Like it was just I didn't like it. Like
It's
it was weird.
it's deep. Like he's
Yeah,
probably like he's
it's
reefing
weird.
your stomach off.
And then it's to a point where like he's not even, it's kind of like if you were to just rub your thumb along your thigh, people are probably driving, listening to me and going, "What?" But
or running the course.
it's not a massive pressure he was doing. It was very much like you would rub a pen off your finger. Does that make sense? Or a pen off the back of your hand. It was that amount of pressure. But I'm telling you, I would have given him state secrets. It was absolutely horrible. And it was like that once. We both had that little eureka moment. You could feel the moment the muscle just said, okay, we'll relax. And it was just amazing. I felt really light after it and all. The two of us were like, oh, there it is. And I was like, you could actually feel them. Do you know what everyone talks about? We need to release the muscle and we need to do that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, just rub my legs with it.
Yeah.
But I felt it release and it's made a big difference then in everything, into my hip flexor flexibility now. It's like I don't know what he was saying. He was explaining it to me, but I was just
Is
crying.
this a short term feeling a lot better and you feel better but not as good now afterwards? Because like is this a short kind of like pop and the way you do sometimes like hamstrings or even foam rolling is great where you feel like great for 20 minutes so afterwards when like a couple of hours after session you're not as nimble or not as moving as you were now. But you feel better now. And was this a 5 minute thing, him massaging your stomach? Was this the most of 45, 50 minute session he was massaging your stomach? Like what's going on here?
No, we did. So a lot of it was stemming through my right side. So the start of the session is him trying to realign. So he does a lot of manipulation for my posture and stuff. So he cracks me back this way, that way. Um, like I've had my back cracked. I've never had it cracked in these kind of ways. And then he's kind of assessing then everything else that's, oh yeah, I can see what's working here. And he just goes into the zone. And it's like a, a cadaver. I'm not a person. He's just forgets I'm there and he's just looking at
This
things and okay, now turn this way and a karate chop here. And it's like, oh my God. But it's like I have noticed a serious difference even in my posture because the reason I went to do this, and I was noticing it towards the end of last year, I seen a photograph with my top off and I look tilted and
right.
I'm standing straight, but my shoulder is down, my hip is down. So I was out of alignment. Like it looked bizarre. It looked like I was tilting my shoulder real weirdly, or my head, my neck was tilted. And sure enough, he said, "Yeah, you're tilted slightly sideways, which is causing pressure. You're compensating here, and that's why your hamstrings are after getting so tight here, and this is tighter over there." And basically, we're spending 6 weeks recalibrating essentially, which is bizarre. And I was like, but what have I been doing wrong? I do my yoga, I do this. And he was like, look, it's part of training and you
Mm.
can't do all of this yourself. Every so often, you need to get someone to do this for you. There's only so much the massage gun will do. There's only so much the stretch, the foam roll will do. And he's like, but every so often, when you're putting yourself under this, you need to get someone to assess how the system is working and try and get it back on the straight and narrow so you can perform better and stuff. So like I was just even mad. Like he lifted my hamstring, he was stretching my hamstrings and where his hand was burning. Like it was like someone poured something boiling hot on me. But he
Yeah.
wasn't. If he, it was just he was saying it was to do with the sciatic nerve because it was under so much pressure from all the different compensations. And it was like something was on fire in the back of me. I was like, oh, and he was like, I'm not. He took his hand off and was like, that's just the nerve. That's not me doing anything. That's just me trying to loosen you out and maneuver. I was like,
Jeez.
oh, right. So long story short, there was about to be a car crash waiting to happen, but we're on the good one. So we've been given the go ahead to go back to the heavier side of the endurance training and the run in and stuff because I need to start like adjusting. The body needs to
Mm.
stop compensating and start to figure out this new thing. So, but he was always happy with the weights and the exercises and all of that because he said that's good conditioning. It was just the endurance. He didn't want the repetitive stuff for a while. So we're looking good for this weekend into next week and then setting our goals on a smaller triathlon plan, I think is what I'm going to do.
So
Maybe.
we've had people in the podcast before, and they've been advocates of getting a massage every 3 to 4 weeks and stuff to keep them going. And obviously, you haven't done it in, let's just say, a while, and that this is built up. But I suppose to put it back in NCT terms, is it after 6 weeks you get the pass grade? And I know you're building stuff in now, but is this just a thing for 6 weeks and then it's you're done with it, and there's like once a month checkup on the L car to get a quick service? So what's the end goal with this? Like how
Yeah,
do you know after 6 weeks you're, oh, thanks doc, I'm, well, maybe not doc, but whatever, like this
like
is complete.
because he knows, like I can see the progress each week I go back, and then I
Okay.
work on it for a week. Like the depth I'm able to get on certain exercises without feeling like I'm going to fall apart is improving. And that's because I'm adding in functional movement with this, and my muscles are a lot more pliable. They're not like my calves would be twitching and stuff. They're not really twitching and stuff anymore. Like
Hmm.
there was just a buildup of all sorts from the Ironman to everything else moving and not really looking after it. So end goal is to one, get back that I don't need to be there every week. And two, factor in a service every now and again.
Hmm.
Something I haven't done, probably something we all neglect at home as well. Um, Look, it's been the best experience I've had in going in, that I walk in and it's not just, okay, yeah, you need to go home and do 10 glute bridges every day now, and come back to me in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It it's someone just went in and took control and was like, these are your problems. You're fine, but it can get worse. And we can work on it over the next couple of weeks and just keep at it. And then we'll try and realign your posture and all that kind of stuff. And it's cool. It is cool starting to see the difference in the mirror. I'm starting to look not lopsided anymore and stuff. So like it just not
You'll be
looking
more
lopsided
efficient.
is worth it. But apart from that, like longevity is important to factor in recovery. So genuinely, if there is people that want to come on and talk and offer out NCTs to all of our listeners, by all means, it's been a great experience. And it's exciting. Do you know when you're training for a marathon, you've done the training,
Yeah.
and you get to the start line, and you can kind of relax because you know the work is done. It's kind of like I'm about to start a new block, or I'm about to do this, and I'm carrying niggles, and will I get through this week? I'm getting to the start line of the next block knowing you're in a good enough shape to start this. You're in a good enough shape to go for the hour cycle. You're in good enough, like it's kind of peace of mind that nothing's gonna
Hmm.
break down when you're getting back into it, which is always the biggest fear. Now, just so everyone knows, listen, some of the athletes, they don't stop, so it's grand for them. But when you have taken a hiatus and you're coming back in, but yeah, but so far it is good. It was definitely well worth and still is well worth.
And speaking of entities and doing different things over there, how are you eating lately over there?
Oh, Ramadan Kareem.
Are you on board? Have you looked at it? Have you been like, are you on the fasting buzz now and seeing all the different topics and whether fasting is great and all the rest? And look, I'm steering out of my lane of competency on this one, so I can't offer too much advice or anything like that. But I'm just curious in how you're getting on over there with
So
that.
with fasting, and it is something that comes up in nutrition, it comes up in training, it comes up with everything. So basically, Ramadan is they don't eat, drink during the sunlight hours, and then they break fast then in the evening time. It's really cool. Like you see them all like legging it to get the grub. They're all starving, but it's I suppose for me, we spent the first 2 months. So when I posted Fat Man to Iron Man, it was with a plan. It wasn't
Mm,
just we're going to just lose it in 3 weeks, and that was something we always tell people we work with. Sean, is you need to set a goal a year from now and work towards it, because it's a lifestyle. It's not something you do. It's not a fad. So what we did over the last little while was fall back in love with training, and we focused on strength, lean
mm.
muscle, putting on mass that's going to burn calories when I'm sleeping, essentially. And that's what we did over the last while. And then Ramadan was coming up. So I said I'd go and try this whole fasting thing. Um, so there's lots of studies on it, and there's lots of different things. And people say it'll remove toxins from them, it gives cells a chance to regenerate. There's other endorphins that come out of this fella, and another endorphin that will come out of that
Mm.
fella. But most importantly, and things people need to remember about fasting, or intermittent fasting, is what we're doing. So for 16 hours, 17, 18, depending, I'm not eating. then there's a window where I'm eating. But what it does for someone like me is stops me snacking, stops me hunting jellies at 9 o'clock in the evening. So ultimately, what the intermittent fasting in is a calorie deficit.
Great
And
tool.
it's a great tool.
Yeah,
Um, and
I'll agree on that.
it very much sets the boundary because you're not just saying no to a craving then at 8 o'clock. You're saying no to the craving because you're out of your hours.
Mm.
That's it. And for me, it's actually been a really nice couple of days. Now, I did have a good couple of headaches. Now, I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I like my fizzy pop and I like, and there is caffeine in it, and I'd have 2 or 3 cans of it a week or something. But the first 2 or 3 days, I was having headaches. Don't know what it was from.
Mm.
Sugar, I don't know, an imbalance in something, the caffeine withdrawals. But I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. But feeling really, really good about it now, and a little bit of positive. So the aim over the next 30 days are to match with Ramadan for me in inverse. So I stop eating at 6 in the evening and I don't eat till 12 the next day. So most of my fasting's done with a full belly when I'm sleeping, to be honest, kind of cheating. So I'm actually the opposite. So it's great because the gym is empty because they're all fasting during the day here. So they're not going to the gym and I'm flat
Gym
out.
to yourself, yeah.
So, but the principle is the same. Okay, I drink water during mine. They don't associate with the people. It's
No
just been
water,
good.
no nothing.
No, 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 they
They
don't do
can't.
anything.
That's gonna be very hard
Yeah.
to obviously train and stuff like that because
Yeah, so it is.
it's even.
It's difficult. It's
Mm.
really, really difficult. But that's why with me, I drink just the water in between, and that kind of fills me up. And most importantly, whatever science you read into it, it's a calorie deficit. So we're going on a cut for 30 days. That's the plan, and we're making sure that the right choices are made with the food that we are eating in the time, that it's nutrient dense and it keeps me fuller longer. So there goes your jellies, that
Mm.
you'd eat a packet of and you wouldn't think twice of, and you're hungry an hour later. So it's but this was always the plan. The plan was to get a little bit stronger, go through the cut phase. It went through with the NCT as such, which we're moving in. And now it's time to add in the longer cardio, which will increase the calorie deficit. But we have to manage it that we're not starving ourselves either as well, and making sure we're getting all the nutrients we need as well.
Mm. Speaking of food, actually, I owe you a public apology again. I think I've
You're on
mentioned
it
this
better.
before. So I was doing I did a running course there, the UESCA course, and United Endurance Sports Coaching Academy. Yeah, it was a decent course. Now it doesn't give you exact coaching plans and stuff like that. Though there is a book's been recommended before in the podcast, the Jack Daniels running economy book. Not the drink. That goes into great
So,
details on different coaching plans and stuff like that. So that's a great book to get. I put up a story today about it in case people want to give different options on different courses throughout Ireland. We got very little feedback on that one, if we're totally honest. Emmett Dunleavy, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, talked about Athletics Ireland level 1, 2, and 3 and a 1 day endurance course. It's actually the 1 day endurance course where I first heard about that Jack Daniels book. But the long-winded, close the apology. So it goes through obviously different things, and there's a lot of stuff you kind of know, different strength exercises, the types of muscles and all the rest, and a lot of stuff. It's kind of like I know that, but it's not. But it's still nice to keep doing the basics, keep it refreshing. One thing was a study that said if you run for a 10K, if you run 5% slower than your 10K race pace for the first kilometer, you'll get a more likely hit your target or a better result than if you ran 10% slower or 5% faster. And I'm definitely in that 5 to 10% faster than my first race pace, like pull back in that. But the other one, they quoted the International Society of Sports Nutrition, and they said for carb loading, 8 to 10 grams of carbohydrates per kilo body weight for 1 to 3 days before an endurance event, and similar enough for the International Olympic Committee. So for me, 8 to 10 grams, like let's say, 8 to 10, let's say 10 grams per kilo body weight. So I'm 82, I'm 83, 84. But let's say I'm 82. Let's say I'm 82 come marathon time. That is 1,620 grams of carbs. And if it's 4 calories per gram of carbs and 4 protein, 9 fats, that's 6,484 calories. I'm eating of carbs alone. a day before a race. I'm eating
Yeah,
nowhere near that. And
yeah,
you've said this before in the podcast. You've been like, you've said huge numbers, and genuinely, I've been like, I don't know if we should include that in the podcast. We can edit it out, but I've always like, hey, look, you're a nutrition guy. I'm not. I'll put it in. Not that we edit much in this podcast, if anything at all, really. I probably should edit this part out because I look like an idiot. But that is an insane amount of calories, like huge amount of calories.
yeah. It's a crazy science as well. And like when you think of it, people think pastas, pizzas, all of that kind of stuff.
But a
When it comes,
pizza is like what, 16, 2,000 maybe? That's on like
yeah,
that's three fucking pizzas.
I know. So, but you
I
have
know
to
you'd
think.
eat different food and quality of food and timing of it. I know a lot more goes into it, but
Well,
Jesus.
believe it or not, in some of the bigger endurance events, the quality doesn't really matter. It's about getting the sugars into the muscles as storage. So they'll be having very large bowls of Cocoa Pops.
Mm.
They'll be having stuff that, like I just talked about, the bag of jellies that doesn't really make you full, but carries a lot of sugar, a lot of stuff that can be stored. Obviously the complex stuff is better because it takes longer to break down, but you're trying to just put as much energy into the muscles as possible. But again, it's person dependent. It
Mm.
is person dependent. There's people who will feel lethargic getting to the start line.
You would
Like,
have to build to that. Like you'd
yeah,
have to go 1 to 3 days now. You couldn't go day before. I don't really count calories stuff like that only because for the most part of my life I've been somewhat balanced. Obviously, with age and stuff, you put a bit more on training cycles, different things like that. But like, it's never been like, oh shit, I'm after putting on 5, 6, 10 kilo of weight and being like, oh, I need a lot to lose. It's always been like a balance of 3 to 4, maybe. Like I've been somewhere around 79, 80 to 84, 85. Slightly heavier in recent months, but apart from that, it's been very similar for a long, long time. So I haven't really felt like I need to do that, but I've always known I need to give more attention to. Um, but like that's probably roughly 2.5, 3,000 calories a day. This is 6.5 of just carbs.
yeah,
How?
it's a hell of a lot. It is. Coming up to the Ironman, I was doing it, and to be honest, like it paid dividends on the day, especially because I got sick in the sea. But um, I didn't feel tired for a long
Mm.
time. I was eating and stuff during it, but it wasn't until probably 25K into the marathon where I kind of had that first bonk and I had to recover it with Red Bulls and
Mm.
packets of gels like Frubes. But it was, I felt lethargic. I felt as big as a house getting into the water, like I
Ready to
was
go?
still full because we'd been snacking and snacking, and any opportunity I had to just eat and eat and eat, I was eating for the 2 days beforehand. And I wasn't used to it, and I felt lethargic. So, was it worth it when I was about halfway through the cycle? 120% it was. Was it worth it when I was walking down that morning? I was like, oh no, I don't feel too good here. So there has to be a balance struck there as well. But yeah, when you're looking into maintaining your energy stores for your race and you want to have enough in the system. Now, a half marathon is you can carb load, but you probably don't need to be looking at the same values as you're looking at for your marathons that you're looking at for your Ironman.
Mm.
Like would I carb load? I'd probably have me chicken fried rice before more a half marathon. Like as in you can just take on the complex and you will balance it out with simple sugars the next day, the jellies beforehand and this and that, and you'll be getting sugar everywhere. So but marathon I'd say is one that would it depends on how quick you're running it. Like if you're running the 2:30 like some of the lads, you won't need the same amount as the bloke is out for 5 hours. You'd want a sandwich behind you in your back pocket. So it's different, but it's a huge amount of food. And there's great videos. If you want to watch people carb loading on YouTube, you can see the bowls of everything that they have stacked up and putting sauces on things you didn't even know existed. But it's any way you can get them in and any cheat, a mayonnaise, anything just to boost it and bolster it.
Well, so one thing you probably need a carb load a lot for is doing a 100K race. And that is what our next guest on the Any Given Day podcast has done, as well as phenomenal marathon times and building up to insane distance runs before doing a 100K race is our next guest on the podcast, Wayne Waldron.
Yeah, this is a good one. And what I love most about this, and like we have with any other guests, and we've had last week with Elizabeth and stuff, people who didn't think they'd end up in the sport that they're in, but taking such pride in what they do, and the pride in representing your country as well. And it's amazing to see what people can do when they apply themselves to thing. And Wayne is no different to that. And one thing that's a common trend with all of these guests is the modesty.
Mm.
Um, we can't get one of them to say their class, you know.
Like we do a
um,
quarter of that, me and you, we'd be like, this is how good we are. Podcast episode this week, just on how great I am. I finally achieved this goal. And these people we had the podcast last couple of weeks, and Wayne included, have done some unbelievable, incredible things in their training, let alone the events they actually do.
Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant. And this one is a great listen again for those who want to see someone who's tangible, who's there, who's just doing their every
Dedicated.
working and dedicated to it, and is an inspiration to us all. And again, it's another great episode from a great group of athletes that we had on, and it's definitely well worth a listen. It's well worth that if you're listening to us running and you're sick of me talking about food and belly rubs. It's definitely going to be the change of pace you've needed to keep you going on this run or this drive, and it's a great listen. And this is going to be Wayne.
With that said, let's go. So this week on the Any Given Run Day podcast, we have a man on that's represented Ireland in the national 100-kilometer race in 2023 and came in second with an insane 7 hours and 9 minutes. He won the 2023 Galway Bay Marathon and has now taken his talents into coaching. Wayne Waldron, welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. How are you getting on?
Cheers, lads. All good, yeah. Not bad.
But Wayne, someone's going to hear that and go, this lad was always good into running. Like, he just had this talent. He started running, and within a year or so, he's able to do all this great things. Just came naturally to him. Is that true? Did running long distance come natural to you, or was this something that was built up over doing sport or stuff when you were younger?
Yeah, no, a lot of people, Sean, seem to think that if someone is good at running, that you're born like that, or they blame it on genetics and whatever. It's just down to hard work, It's graft. You look at the likes of us in that endurance project. It's not just running; it's sacrifices that we make to the game, and it's not just when you're running around the Phoenix Park or training or in races. It starts from at home, your food, your water, going to bed early. Like it's not just, we don't train for a specific race. We train all year round. It's hard to explain to people, as
So
you see people, if they book a race. Sorry, Eric.
what you're describing there, obviously, a lot of people describe as the lifestyle, and you very much accepted that running lifestyle into your life. How did you find that? Was that a big change for you? Was it a massive change to say, this is what I want to be? This is who I am now? Is this a big change from the norm for you?
Yeah, well, see, I've played football most of my life, and that will help. It's just down to constant training. As I said, like we wouldn't have a race booked. It could be 6 months before our next race. We will still train all year round. We'll still show up to the Phoenix Park every Saturday morning at 7:30, and we will still run around for 2 hours, even though we don't have a race in mind. It's just what we do. It's every day. As I said, it's down to your food. Like, I don't drink fizzy drinks. I don't eat chocolate. I don't eat crisps.
Me and you are not going to be friends anymore, Wayne. What do you
Yeah.
drink fizzy drink?
No, it's just sacrifices that I have, and like a Saturday morning run. We're planning. So obviously we're in a group. It's the endurance group.
Yeah.
I'm also running for the No Harriers, but in this, like Gary O'Hanlon put a message in on Thursday saying what session we're going to be doing. And even though I'm getting coached by Kevin, Gary is in this group with us. So the message will come out on a Thursday, what we're going to be doing Saturday morning. So it's basically you're just getting yourself ready from Thursday. So your training all week is basically to lead you up to Saturday morning. So it could be 30, 35K, averaging around 1 kilometre. So you'll be talking around in between 340 to 355 per kilometre.
Sorry, how was that session decided? Like, for example, like Anthony O'Brien just did Seville there, Martin, so he's coming back from that. A couple of weeks ago, Ian Fitzgerald in that group as well he won the 50K in Dundee. You have, am I right in saying you've got a 100K race coming up now at the start of April? You're doing that this year, are you? The national?
Unfortunately, Sean,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, unfortunately, I had to pull out of the Ireland team this year because of. So I was training to break the Irish 100K record,
Yeah,
and that was everything was going well. I had plans to run Donadee with Ian, and we were both training to break sub 3 hours for the 50K. And I was going to come off Donadee and straight, so I had to train myself to run around 4:05 to 4:08 per kilometer for the 100 kilometers. So I've just had a couple of setbacks, and I got a shin injury on. I forget the name of the muscle, but that set me out for 8 weeks. So I finally got rid of that, and I started kind of pushing myself, getting ready for Donadee, and then the hamstring went. So I pulled an injury 3 weeks out from Donadee, and I just stayed off it for the week, and then I had just 2 weeks training. So I spoke to John a week before Donadee and just explained to him, John O'Regan is the Irish coach. So I just explained the situation to him that I was, and my mother-in-law passed away on Christmas Day. So I obviously had to just pull away from training for a little bit as well. So I've just had a disaster of a camp leading up to the 100K, but the Irish 100K Championships is on in November in India. So I'm hoping I can go over there, please God. So if Athletics Ireland send over a team, I would say I'll be a part of the team because I have the standard from 2023.
How do you pick yourself up from the likes of that? And that's one of the things people always we talk about on the podcast is it's all about not getting injured, staying conditioned. Anthony, a few others from the project have talked about it. We've had other coaches saying it's all about peaks and troughs. Staying healthy is the most important thing. How do you pick yourself up? Obviously, you've had a tough Christmas. There's a loss in the family. You're picking up the people around you. You're still getting up in the mornings. Injuries, fatigues, everything set in. How do you pick yourself up now when it doesn't go to plan?
It's the group of people that you're in, Eric. You know, it's about being involved and being around the right people. You know, like when you're out injured, you're getting phone calls of people that are out of your group that are training every week, and they notice you're not there. You know, and they'd be just hitting home with you. They'd be just talking to you on the phone, and basically, before you know, you're back up. Sure, if you have an injury, you're jumping onto the push bike and you're just feeding the lads gels and waters along the run, and then you're seeing the likes of the races, like what Gary done in Seville was unbelievable, you know. 49 years of age, 2:24 marathon, it's crazy. And Anthony as well, 2:22, like it's madness, you know.
Switching gears to a training camp that seemed to go really well for you, and I'm really curious how you and Kevin English had this conversation. So back in March of 2023, you ran the Kinvara Marathon. You got a PB that day of 2 hours 34 minutes. The following week, you were in the Phoenix Park. You clocked up 70K, and not even like an easy run 70K, whatever the hell that would mean. You were doing it at a 4:27 pace because you were 3 weeks out of your long run before the National 100K in 2023 when you did a 4:17 pace and got your 7 hours and 9 minutes. Did you and Gary sit down beforehand and think of this insane training block of a month where you had like a PB race a week later going at a 4:17 for 70K in the park, and then 3 weeks later doing and correct me if I'm wrong, that was your first 100K distance race, and you held a 4:17 for entire 7 hours and 9 minutes. But how did that training come about?
Yeah, so me and Kevin, I was doing a couple of races and I hadn't got a coach. And at the end of every finish line, I was always seeing Kevin there. So we were always having the chats about coaching, and Kevin was always kind of in my ear telling me to get a coach and, you know, get a structured plan. And I would just, in my races, it'd be just 10 times better, you know. He felt by looking at me, I wasn't doing things right. Yeah, we just linked in together and we had a phone call one day and we ended up going in. I never thought I would have been running the 100K for Ireland, to be honest with you. And that was a bit of a shock, to be honest. But I was more training for the marathons and then a couple of half marathons along the way. And then so obviously got selected to run for Ireland in 100 kilometres. And yeah, I went into Kinvara. So the way I've me and Kevin I don't really taper before a race. I find if I don't taper, I've had my best races without a taper. So I went into the Convara Marathon and I'd done 2:34, and I think I had 110 kilometers that week before I went into that race, and that was my best run. So I don't know what it is with the way my body works, but the longer I stay out running as a taper, the more sluggish and kind of heavy I feel.
Right.
So I said, going into Galway, I had no plans of running 2:32 in Galway. I was meant to run around 2:34 because that was a training session for Dublin, which was 3 weeks later. So I went into Galway, and when I got to the start line in Galway, I was running with this fella that came over from Italy, and it was just the two of us out in front, and I think we were going at 3:40 pace. But I meant to bring it back a little bit, but I think we were into the last 10 kilometers, and the prize money was totally different from first to second. You know,
That's fair. That's fair. You're not taking down the line to Dublin that one, especially being that close to winning the race. You got to go for it.
Yeah, like I think he was right beside me, and it was in Galway. You're doing 2 small loops and then 4 big loops, and his wife was on the push bike and she was following him around, recording him, feeding him with gels, and she was obviously talking in Italian, and I couldn't understand a word she was saying, but she was doing my head in,
Had to get away from
Yeah. So Kevin was like, "Don't race," and he just kept shouting, "Don't race," and I said, "Oh yeah." So I said there was 7 kilometers left down with 1 loop, and I ended up pulling away from him. And yeah, that was my first win in a marathon, and it was a brilliant event, well organised. Yeah, I'll probably go down next year again. And then I went on to, I was getting back to the 100K there. I'm skipping races and all now.
Can I just ask, what is it like to win a marathon? It's something
brilliant.
We don't know.
Brilliant.
What is it like?
Yeah, it was brilliant, and I was happy that there was somebody there to actually have a race off as well. I didn't want to just win and, win by a distance, and you feel like you didn't deserve it then. But this fella put it up to me, so it was good. Obviously not during the race, you question yourself why you're actually in the race. But at the end of it then, when you're celebrating, it's brilliant,
So you and I have a different definition of what pulling up is. You did Dublin Marathon a couple of weeks after Galway, and you finished in a time of 2:47, which is phenomenal. I know it wasn't the time you wanted that day. Did you get injured during that race, or was this a continuation of what happened in Galway towards Dublin? And has that led into where you are now?
Yeah, so in the Galway Marathon was all good, finished. It was all good, fresh. The next day, the legs felt good. So I went into, and I just kept continuing training. And the Sunday after Galway, I met Ian and Pete at the Phoenix Park. I think we done 20K, 25K, and I just felt the shin a little bit. So I just stopped straight away, and I stayed off it for a couple of days. Went back at it, tried to run, couldn't run. Stayed off it for the remainder till the Dublin Marathon.
Yeah.
I ran the day before. I think I done 3K. Didn't really feel pain on it, just a touch. So I said, I'll just go give it a shot. So I got to the halfway point in the Dublin Marathon, and I was feeling at about 15K, but I just said I'll keep going. Got to the halfway point, and the pain was just, I couldn't control the pain. So rather than, I actually did stop, and when I stopped, it was pissing out of heavens. It was lashing.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm there in the North singlet, and I had, obviously, you're not carrying phones or money to jump off and pull a taxi. So I said, there's only one way home from here. So I just had to slow down and just jog it and finish it out. But I got to 30K, 32K, and everyone was screaming. You could see I was limping, and everyone was screaming at you. And it was the crowd really that got you home then,
Yeah, it was a hell of a day that day with the rain.
Yeah, it was the first time I've ever pulled an injury during a race. That was the first time, but hopefully it's the last as well.
Yeah, please God, on that one. It's mad that when I look at the Dublin Endurance Project and all the stuff you're doing, and seeing the lads and seeing the paces you're running, the fact you had a niggle and you were smart enough to pull up. I know I wouldn't be smart enough. I'd be like, I got to be one of the lads. I got to keep going and keep pushing it. Like, is that tough when you're around those kind of guys, and you're only there once a week to train with them, and you feel like something's not right with the body, does the mind message you to go, I got to keep pushing. I got to find a way to keep pushing. Or is it just a different group? You guys are smart and you go, okay, no, this is not my day. I need to pull up because there's a race further down the line.
Yeah, well, I haven't always been like that, Sean. I have been deluded sometimes. You know, you go home and you're not feeling it because you're walking around your house or you're just relaxing on the chair. And then eventually when you actually go into a run, then you feel it. I used to go and train, even though I am feeling it, I'd slow it down and I continue to run, even though I'm making the injury a lot worse. So I've learned that over time as well and experience. And yeah, it's just one thing you can't mess around with. You know, when you have an injury now, you just have to step aside. And as I said, there's plenty of other things you can do to keep your fitness going other than running, you know. You're still learning about that as well. It's hard to, when your friends are running, training for a specific race, and you have it happened to me in Donaghadee this year as well. Myself and Ian were training to break sub 3 hours. Obviously, my injury so just held me back. Same thing happened last year in Donaghadee. I was injured 3 weeks before. I didn't run 2 weeks before the race. Happened to me now in Dublin, you know. So I'm learning as I go on. It's just I have to listen to the body now, you know.
Yeah. So is this a case of the rebuilding of Wayne? Is this we need to set a target that's 8 months down the road and forget about trying to win marathons this month, next month. I know Galway is on the cards, but realistically, you want to rebuild so we can move into the targets even next year. Is that something that you're using, or are you still just seeing how it goes, working with physios, etc.?
Yeah, well, I'm taking a different approach to running this year. So I'm not going to race as much. Whereas last year, like there was half marathons, 10 miles popping up everywhere, and I was traveling everywhere to go and do them. And this year now I'm going to take a total different approach to running. I'm going to pick, so I have the Cork Marathon picked out. I'm going to set a good training block for that, and I'm going to go for sub 230, which will be, yeah, hopefully under sub 230. If we can go for 228, I'll be happy with that. And then I'm hoping to go to the 100k World Championships in November in India, please God. So they're my two targets at the moment. I'm gonna try. I'll probably do one half marathon before Cork. And yeah, my physio was kind of giving out to me as well. Physio Mark, he was saying I need to be getting up to him once every 2 weeks. I just put that to a side. I'd rather go and do a training session than actually go and get a physio, you know. So I'm learning that as well as I'm going on.
It's one thing I found, and we talked about it in the intro for the last podcast, was I went to a physio and it was a big joke between me and Sean. There's a lot of things wrong with me. And he was like, yeah, you're only noticing now, but it's something that I have always neglected because I can always feel stiff, but I'm always like, loosen out after 5K, 6K. And it was something that the physio was saying to me that you need to start treating recovery as important or as a training session. And it was a case of, I don't know how I can get that through to you, that if you don't start taking a pit stop every now and again and making sure that the engine is working, it is going to blow up on you at some point. And it's a really, really hard concept to grasp, isn't it?
100%. And what I've done now for my recovery is I'm having a lot of cold baths. And I'm also I go to bed now at 8:30 every night. I'd be asleep and all by 9 o'clock every single night, hoping to get a 9-10 hour sleep. And I feel now that is really benefiting me. Yeah, I'm sticking to my plan. Like I follow Man United. If there's a match on, I'm watching the first half and I'm gone to bed. You know,
That
it's yeah, I'm drinking 10 times more water. I'm drinking 4 liters of water a day. You know, and I know you say recovery and you think the opposite, but sleep and plenty of water is a big factor in recovery. You know,
Yeah.
I'm having sorry, Eric, I'm going and getting a sauna 3 times a week to help with it. Yeah, there's just so much out there to help you, and I'm trying to get my own little system going, you know.
We've had some great people on the podcast as well. Sealy, if people remember, we were talking about ice packs and recovery, and we found it was a great session. And we probably don't have enough of those kind of guests on. We should aim to probably get more on talking about it and highlighting stuff we don't want to hear about all the time. But she was talking about the hot, the cold treatment, and it's a good episode on it. And one of the factors she talked about, or a benefit, was sleep. You finding now that you've done the saunas 3 times a week in the ice baths, you're sleeping a hell of a lot better?
I don't know. I don't know if it's that. I just kind of when I first started this, I wasn't sleeping well, and I was kind of forcing myself into bed and forcing myself to sleep. But now I could be lying down watching telly at 8:30, and my body is just shutting off, and I know it's time to go to bed. And I just want to my alarm is set for 6 o'clock every morning. I'm up at that time, whether it's I'm up for work every Saturday morning. I'm waking up at 6 o'clock. Now, that I'm coaching now, I'm getting up 6 o'clock Saturday morning. I'm sending out my plans, and I'm just trying to keep. And that's before I go for my long run on a Saturday morning. So I'm just trying to keep that little system going. But I do find my sleep is it's really paying off for me at the moment. Where as before, I was probably getting 6, 7 hours if I was lucky. You know.
Yeah, I was reading a tweet there. I think it was Lane Norton was talking about different predicators for like lifting heavy and recovery, and he was like talking about like even form and rounding the back wasn't a predicator of the possibility of getting injured anywhere near as much as the number one thing was sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're not getting enough recovery. It's that you're on a path to eventually getting injured, and it's just like it's something that just seems like we do it for whatever we've done it obviously our entire lives. It just seems like that's too easy a solution. There has to be this magic pill somewhere else. But yeah, it is just get your sleep in, get your at least 8 hours a night. And it sounds like you've got that routine down now to have better sleep, because we can get it Monday to Friday, but then Saturday it's like, oh, we'll have a lie on because I deserve a lie and get better. And then it's like Sunday you feel groggy, Monday you feel groggy, you get back into Tuesday, and the weekend it happens all over again.
Yeah, 100%. They say it's one of the biggest factors in anything you do related to sport. That the most important thing is just sleep. You know, it's just it releases stress. It's hard to explain the way it is, but I just feel my body now is just feeling 10 times better. I feel fresh. I'm bouncing out of bed in the mornings at 6 o'clock. My alarm will go off once, and I'm straight up out of bed. And it's just down to obviously having the 10 hours sleep. But I know if I break that now and I start sitting up watching telly later, I'll start messing around with. So I'm just trying to keep that going. I'm like that now the last 3 months, 4 months. So if we can keep that little system going, I think it'll work for me.
Yeah. Some people sleep 7 hours a night. You run 7 hours. I want to get back to this 100K when you put on the green
Yeah.
jersey. Because I've just seen that 4:17 pace I have wrote down here. That on your first attempt at 100K, I know you did 70K at an insane pace of 4:27. I think I have wrote down here somewhere 3 weeks beforehand. 30K is still a long, long way to go. I know a long run is 3/4 what you did, and I didn't know how you approached 100K, but how are you trusting the body to go with a 4:17 pace for that long? There had to be stages during that race where you were like, I'm not going to be able to maintain this for another 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Like, how was the body feeling throughout that race trying to hold such a fast pace?
It was probably the hardest thing I ever done, to be honest with you. But I was when I finished, I was a bit gutted because I should have went with Kieran, which Kieran won the Irish title for the 100K. He broke the Irish record. But the night before, we were in the hotel and we were all sitting around discussing what pace we were going to go. And Kieran just kept saying he was going 4 minute pace. Obviously, starting a 4 minute pace, your body will obviously it won't hold it for the duration of the race. But he was going at that. So when we started, there was a group in front of us, and they all went at 4 minute pace. So Ian was saying the same. Ian felt that I thought we were both fit enough, Pete as well. I thought we were fit enough to go with the 4 minute group, and obviously see what happens. But we obviously went at a different pace. I think we started at 4:20, and
Right.
we just gradually built into it. But that group that went off ahead of us, they were lapping us. So as they got around to lap us, I latched onto the back of them, and they were still traveling at 4 minutes. And that was still, they got towards, I think we were at about 60K. So I dropped my splits from I think it was 4:15 down to 4 minutes. And I think I lasted I think it was about 20K, 25K. And then the last 15 were really, really tough. There was a hill around the back of the course that was it was steep, but it was also coming down really fast, and you're kind of, after a while, you're feeling it on the quads. Your legs are cramping up and locking up, and you're getting as much fuel into it as you can, and it's just, and you're stopping to go to the toilet sometimes, and your legs are seizing up. You're trying to get back going. It was a grueler, to be honest with you, and when I walked off the course, I was just more gutted that I didn't go, and I had a feeling I would have broke the Irish record that time. And the minute I came off, I just said to Kevin. So Kevin was there. He was part of the Irish team. He was fueling people and stuff as they were going around. Said to him straight away, said I would be back to break that record next year.
Jeez, how many laps is it?
I think it was 22 laps in total. I think it was it was around 22 laps in total of a 4 point something kilometer loop.
So obviously, because you came second, there was a lot of people that's not a lot of people. There was a certain group of people that started that forming a pace that you would have eventually passed and lapped then to catch up with them, that they would have went too fast. But you reckon, had you stuck from the get go with them, that you would have been at top? Because that strategy didn't work as well for others.
I would have held on for as long as I could, and there was some really good athletes in that group. Really good. There was I think there was 2 lads from England that went out to actually break the world record, and they were gone. Yeah, they were flying. I think one of them pulled up injured. Jordan, Gary King pulled up injured. But yeah, even to get there and see these top ultra runners, it was just crazy stuff, And I just had a feeling I would have held on, because we were in that shape. That 70k we done in the park. Myself and Ian done that. That kind of set us up for the run for the 100k. And Ian and Peter, or you watched Ian's podcast, he obviously told you about the fueling the night before. This was madness. We were in the room, and I was in my bed. I had my stuff done in 5 minutes. I just put electrolytes into my water. I had my gels, and that was it. These had a whole table covered in stuff. The amount of it, all different companies. It was madness. The amount of stuff that he had.
Yeah.
So they obviously got upset stomachs during the run. I think Ian had to stop a couple of times to go to the toilet. At one stage, he was walking and getting sick, and it was just madness, Ian was putting stuff into his drinks that he never even used in training.
That was his first 100k race as well, though, wasn't it? I mean, it was brand new territory for the two of you. And even when you just said, I would assume you would have had solid food at some stage on 100k, especially because you're going 7+ hours. But you just had electrolytes and gels.
I just use high five gels. I don't change. I just keep to the same system all the time. No, we didn't have any solid fuels whatsoever. It was more you're running at that pace. It's hard to, and don't get me wrong, your body is empty inside, but you're just thinking of finishing, and you're not thinking of eating fuel. It's the gels. You're just getting. I think I went through about 20 gels.
I was just doing the maths in my head there, going, some people say around every 5k or so to have a gel. You must have went through around 20 of them. Your stomach must have been off away for a week.
Yeah, we were running out of fuel left, right, and centre, everyone, and then all of a sudden we're just grabbing everyone else's. Obviously, there was 5 ladies off the Irish team and 5 men, and it got to the stage where we were just grabbing everyone's fuel then because there was nothing left. We were just taking it and just drinking it as we were going on,
Kevin must have been lobbing the gels at you.
Yeah, Kevin was really good as well, yeah. And then John was there, and then Anto as well. Anto that runs Donadee. He's part of the Irish team there as well. He helps out a lot as well.
Absolutely brilliant.
Go ahead. It is something to be commended, though. I know you're disappointed, but when you get to a finish line of a race and you're like, I should have ran faster, because in fairness, it's the first out. Everyone is waiting on that first out, no matter what it is, of when am I going to blow up? What does it feel like to get through to 70k, to 80k, to 90k? So to have that confidence is to be commended, I suppose. To have that confidence to come off a race like that, that's a good lesson learned. So I think it's a good stepping stone, isn't it? It is,
Eric. And the thing about ultra running is I find now that I am better over the ultra distance than I am over any other distance. The longer the race, the better I am. I don't know what it is. It's just as the race goes on, I just start to get it's like a second wind, and the body just pushes on and pushes on. Don't get me wrong, I didn't enjoy the race, to be honest with you. You enjoy the first half. As soon as you get to 50 or 60k and the legs start going, the body will keep moving. It's just the legs that shut down. you know.
Yeah. I can only imagine the pain of and being like, okay, you're at literally the start of a marathon pace after running a marathon distance after running 60K and try and keep holding that to keep on getting through must have been a lot of fun.
It was, and as I said, when I finished the race, it's the jersey you're wearing. You know, you're representing the country. It's a big thing. You know, any runner out there, if you wouldn't like to represent the country, there'd be something wrong with them. It's just a matter now of just keeping fit and keeping sharp. And obviously, when the time comes that John will give you the call up and go from there. So please God, now Ireland send over a team in November. I'd love to go over, and obviously I'd give the 100K record to go over there. That's if I know Kieran that broke the 100K record last year is doing the Anglo Celtic Plate now in March, so he could break his own time again. You know.
The Irish national record now, Kieran has, is that sub 7 hours?
Yeah, he done it in 6 hours 57 minutes.
Oh, mother of God.
That's insane. So
Yeah.
you're at the moment you're 12 minutes off, and depends on what he does in April. Then it could be that little bit more of a daunting task coming from there.
Yeah, so I was obviously geared myself up training to go and beat that time. So I was training myself to go for 6 hours 55 minutes. I was actually training to run 100K in 4 minutes per kilometer, but obviously it doesn't work out like that. You know, as you get to a certain distance in an ultra race, your time starts coming back. But that's what I was training for. You know.
Just so everyone else feels okay. My goal is to do a 4 minute pace for a 5K and get a sub 20. I'd be very happy with that. Eric, you're going to say something there?
No, to be honest, you just made me feel shit about myself as well there. So thanks very much, Sean.
Sean, I meant to ask you, how did you feel after Donadee?
I felt great when it was done. Kevin helped me a lot through that one as well, because I didn't that sub. I'm only getting back into running, and the sub 5 hour was bothering me. Trying to making sure I got that was the main thing. So what I did was after every loop, I would take a little bit of a breather, get me stretching, go a bit of food, like 20, 30 seconds, and go again. And I found that really helped, because I never hit a wall. Like I hit a wall in the Dublin Marathon, and it was an awful time for what I've done before. A couple of months before that. So the loop structure works well. The setup there is class. The atmosphere along that straight from the start line. It's class. I've already got my ticket for next year. They released a couple of early tickets.
Yeah,
I was like, right, I'm in. I'm hooked now on it. It's a fantastic
it's
race.
the loops, and every time you come on boy, the atmosphere is just crazy because you're seeing it every loop. You know, it's just magic.
And it just keeps picking you up. And you see the odd new face and stuff there. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I've seen you're doing an ultra race, are you?
Yeah, I'm my next one now is the Backyard Ultra is in April. So we had the guys that are organizing the podcast a couple weeks ago, PJ Meehan and Keith Russell's coming down there as well. He has the Irish record of 89 hours, 89 laps. So I think that's his Irish record. I think he's 12th in the world at the moment. He was 6th before the Tennessee World Championships, but he's coming down there for a day. Thankfully, I'm not racing against him. But like, yeah, so I'm down doing that in April. Yeah, looking forward to it. The 24-hour goal is still the goal, but I'm not too sure I'll get there at this one, but maybe the next.
So you've done the 50K. You've worn the Irish jersey, something you never thought you'd do. Another thing you never thought you'd do, coaching people. This is only a new thing on the scene for you, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I've had intentions a long time of doing coaching, and I'm a personal trainer 10 years. I've worked in the gym for 8 years, and I just kind of pulled out of the gym, and just the hours were just too much. And I just started focusing on what I learned on myself, and then yeah, I decided just to go into coaching and try help other people in what they want to do. Obviously, I've learned off a lot of people who run me. I've learned a lot off Kevin. Please God, it all goes well.
And how have you found that transition into it? People who are coming on, I know for you, the responsibility has always been keeping yourself fit, keeping yourself ready for a race and thinking about things and thinking your body. How do you find the responsibility now of coaching others, people looking to you for the answers and guidance? How do you find the responsibility? Is it different?
Yeah, well, I've been there before when I worked in the gym, you know, and you're doing personal training, one-to-one sessions. It's obviously everyone like they're paying you, so they want results. And yeah, it's as I said, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't be doing coaching for the money. It'd be more I would be doing it for is to get people to run. If I was at a finish line, I seen someone breaking their own time, that would be more enjoyable to me than anything, you know. And not just helping one person. When you're helping a group of people achieve goals, there's nothing better, especially when you're so passionate about running.
What is it you learned from like the work with the likes of Kevin English? Is there anything in particular that you thought about running before you went to him that's like, oh, I love that kind of mindset or that approach. I'm going to apply that to what I'm going to do for your clients you're going to be coaching now?
Yeah, but basically a structured plan. You know, before I had a coach, some of the stuff I was doing, I was leaving my house and just running flat out until I came back, doing that mostly every day and pulling injuries everywhere. So a structured plan. We train 6, 7 days a week. The group of people that we're in. Obviously, not everyone is at that fitness levels. Everyone is different. But a structured plan, yeah. So you're just changing up your routine. You could have an easy run, hill sessions, speed sessions, recovery runs, long runs, tempo runs. There's so much out there, and obviously everyone is different. So yeah, you kind of have to just suss out what the athlete is, what the fitness is, and just gauge from there.
As a personal trainer, Wayne, would you do a lot of strength work yourself? And would that be a difference? So would you incorporate like that into running with your clients now? Or do you think that's separate and strength is only a bit of like, I don't want to say rehab, but like that bit in the side? 'Cause you're saying you're running 5, 6 days a week, trying to fit in that strength. What is your approach to strength and running?
Yeah, as I said at the start, Sean, it's sacrifices that you have to make. I would do strength conditioning probably twice a week for 2 hours the most.
Full
The
body?
rest is all about, yeah, I'll just change it up. The more core and legs, but the rest is all about running. To be honest, I'd rather do a session in running than I would in the gym, but obviously it's part of it.
Yeah.
But everyone is different, you know. There's so much that we give to the game, and we all have full time jobs. You know, we have to work 8 hours a day before we even run. It's even yesterday I finished work, came home, I had to go and run 20K, piss and rain. Didn't want to do it, but it's just part of it. You know, you have to make these sacrifices, and that's a lot of people just think you're born to be a good runner or you're born with this gift to run fast. It takes a lot of hard work.
Piss and rain is back. Let's go. Go ahead, Eric.
Piss and rain, I don't have that problem.
It's fucking snowing here today, Eric.
Listen, it was snowing.
Yeah.
I was getting attacked and chased by camels there today. So, my fitness levels are already increasing. But Wayne, what does it take for someone to get in touch with you? Someone who said or is listening to the podcast and it's like, look, Wayne seems like the coach that I want to add structure. How do people get in touch with you, or how do people find out about what's involved with working with you?
Just Instagram, Eric. It's I have no website or anything yet as I'm only starting, but I plan to get my own website soon enough. So it's basically just Instagram, and then obviously then I can get the number, get a phone call, and meet up with the person and go through what they're about. And obviously Strava is a great help. If you have Strava, you can go through the runs, and it just tells where their fitness levels are at. It gives you more of a gauge on where they're at, and just basically go from there. You know, everyone will be different, and obviously you have to give a plan to each person. Not everyone is the same.
And that is, I suppose, the most important part of running, and something that every podcast episode really highlights is everyone is different. And as you've said with your taper, I'd be similar to you. I feel if I haven't ran in 2 days, I haven't trained in a month. And your clients are going to be different, and it is like nutrition. It's so individual. It's such an individual sport, but it can be so good when you're working as part of a group. I've no doubt future clients who are working with you and train as part of a group are going to do great things and be inspired by all of the great runs you're going to do. Wayne, we have absolutely loved having you on. We're excited to see what Cork will bring, what November will bring. We're confident that the ambitions are there, and I think with your current rebuild and getting yourself right, and the changes and further sacrifices you've made are going to pay off. And we're looking to hopefully have you on for a nice Christmas wind down with a new record, maybe.
Praise God.
And have
Hopefully.
you back to find out, because one thing is saying it, and we always say it, it's talking the talk and then walking it, but it'd be nice to bring this full circle from talking to you post injury to seeing what you can do with a green jersey on. We've no doubt you'll get the call again, because your talent is, and the rest of the group and we've had on is phenomenal, and it's absolutely brilliant to see what you're doing. But we can't thank you enough for coming on. It's great to, again, we always say, have front row seats to some great athletes, and you really are one of the greats, and who we can be around and see in the park and touch, and it's just great to have you on, and we can't thank you enough for taking the time to come and talk to us.
Cheers, lads, and thanks very much for having me.
Thank you, Wayne. And that is going to be it for this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast. Thanks for listening from myself, Wayne, and Eric. Take care.